Just an unbelievable story. I know kids were there as well. Fox Carolina's Brandon Livornia joining us live from Mimosa Court in Greenwood with more this afternoon. And Brandon, I mean, this family, they've already had to deal with the death, and now this.
I think we're all in agreement. We hope it isn't a rainy one.
Oh, please, Ben. Please, Ben. Say no rain.
I'll see what I can do.
Eric, we are live right now in the Media Filing Center. I want to kind of take you on a little walk here. This is where reporters and journalists from all around the country and the world are filing their report during this debate tonight. What you might not realize, though, is how much is done behind the scenes by certain school employees to make sure all students are safe when that lunch bell rings. What do you think about Governor Nikki Haley's comments on Tuesday after the State of the Union address directed possibly at you?
I think she's a terrific woman.
Would she ever be a possible vice presidential candidate with you?
Certainly. I mean, she's a fantastic woman.
Preparing to search for hidden cash.
Yeah, that's where we would be if we weren't here right now.
Right.
I'd be out there looking. Fox Carolina's Margaret Burnquist. She is live on North Main Street next to Breakout Games. All right, so we know, Margaret, I guess the first clue revealed in just, moments from now. So we have to know, are you taking part in the treasure hunt? Because Ashley and I, we're kind of jealous of you today. But another issue Kendra was talking about, you can kind of see to my right over here, fog, lots of it. This is really just developing as we've been out here the last hour or so. But then the issue that we've been talking about all day is the hail. That is still here at the A&P restaurant in Greer. Get down here so you can kind of see. Those officers were cleared of any wrongdoing, and today the sheriff is addressing his department's policy. Sheriff Johnny Mac Brown wants to make it clear exactly what their use of force policy is. The sheriff also told us last year there were 8 complaints of use of force and 7 so far this year. There was 1 written reprimand, and the other complaints were either unfounded, not sustained, or exonerated. We talked about this a little bit earlier tonight about how it's now time that these candidates are really going to differentiate themselves from one another. And you really heard with Ted Cruz, I mean, he is the conservative candidate. As of this fall, there will be no more of the 1995-1996 Thomas-built school buses out on the roads, and that's a big relief to upstate school districts. Steve Gant has been driving school buses over a decade.
I love driving a bus. I really do.
And this year, he's even more excited to get behind the wheel of his Greenville County school bus.
This is a new bus. I just got it. Let me see, Monday was the first day I drove it. It had 199 miles on it.
The district tells us they've gotten 15 new buses this year. The vehicles are owned by the state, and the Department of Education has made it a top priority to replace an aging fleet with newer buses. The first to go are the 1995-1996 Thomas-built models. Those have caused fire and thermal issues, including in Greenville County schools. For us, we did have 3 thermal incidents last year that all did involve the 1995-1996 Thomas buses. In this case, there were problems with the fuel injector where they were kind of splashing out fuel, and it ended up sending flames shooting out of the exhaust pipe. And so the buses filled with smoke. It wasn't a true bus fire, but there were some flames seen. It did cause some smoky incidents. We also checked in with Spartanburg District 5, who dealt with this huge bus fire last year, also on a 1995 Thomas model. They tell us they received a few brand new buses at the end of last year, when they also pulled their last 1995 model off the road. The State Department of Education says last year, just over $14 million was approved by the legislature for new buses. Ryan Brown with the department tells me new buses are coming in every week, and by October, all the 95-96 models will be off the roads. That's news that these districts welcome. Our top priority when it comes to bus transportation for students is to get them to school and home both safely and on time. New buses help us do both of those things. In with Anderson District 5. This is a photo of one of their school buses that caught fire in January. It was also a 1995 model. The district tells me they have 31 brand new school buses on the road this year. Now, the State Department of Education tells me there are still 170 of those 95-96 model school buses out on the roads right now. And until they are all replaced, they're getting some extra inspections to make sure that they are safe. Fox Carolina investigates. Some upstate business owners are frustrated over trains they say are blocking the tracks for hours, sometimes even days at a time. And they tell us it's disrupting their livelihood and their bottom line. I've heard some similar stories from other people around the upstate, so I did a little digging to find out what's happening at this particular intersection near Rutherford Road in Greenville and what's being done to keep those trains from stopping. Donald Keller has had enough. He owns Vintage Auto on Pine Knoll Drive and Rutherford Road in Greenville. He says blocked railroad tracks are making it difficult for customers and suppliers to get to him.
Unfortunately, it is a random situation. We never know when that's going to happen, and we don't know how long they're going to stay. We have seen trains here for anywhere from 15 minutes up to the entire day.
Donald took this video on his cell phone earlier this month. He says that particular Norfolk Southern train was stopped over an hour outside of his business.
This is a safety issue. I have seen pedestrians crawl over and under the train when it's at rest. I have seen people pass bicycles across the train to each other.
Across the street, Bo Gossett is frustrated too. He owns Gossett Concrete Pipe Company. He says he's been losing money because of those blocked tracks.
We have 2 manufacturing plants here that require a lot of trucks, materials coming in and out throughout the day, and it has been just debilitating. The frequency has picked up tremendously over the last couple of years, and we've just lived with it, but it has shut our plants down on numerous occasions.
And with a business where time matters, Bo is feeling the stress when his trucks can't get where they need to go.
We produce concrete products for highway road work, so we have tight schedules, and the plants have just really suffered at times because of this train traffic.
Both Bo and Donald tell us there is an alternate route, but it's not convenient and forces their trucks and extra traffic through neighborhoods. The tracks at issue belong to Norfolk Southern. We reached out for an interview. While they wouldn't go on camera, spokeswoman Susan Turpay told me what's happening is not normal. She says more businesses are using trains to move goods, including through the South Carolina Inland Port at Greer. She gave us a statement that reads in part, quote, "At some locations we have to stage or hold the train until there is sufficient track capacity to move it onto the main line, similar to an interstate highway or into a rail yard. When we need to hold trains, we try to choose locations that will not disrupt local residents and will still allow motorists to use alternate routes to cross the tracks. Our goal is to keep the trains moving, and we apologize for any inconveniences to the public," end quote. Turpay also told me they have been working to fix the problem and have reopened a part of the rail yard in Chattanooga that wasn't being used. Norfolk Southern says they're also using an extra rail line to support the increased traffic and hopefully reduce delays. While there are no federal regulations when it comes to trains blocking intersections, there is a current state law that says it's illegal for trains to be stopped on tracks longer than 5 minutes. But the fine is minimal, $5 to $20, and it's not often enforced since federal railroad law trumps state railroad laws. A recent opinion from the state attorney general's office backs that. Norfolk Southern tells me while they know it's a frustrating situation, they are trying to be good neighbors. Donald just wants things to get worked out soon.
I just hope that we could get some awareness both for the operators of the trains and for the community at large. Maybe we can have this resolved somehow.
And Norfolk Southern tells me they want people to report those blocked intersections. They ask that you look for a sign like this one that has the crossing number and a number for you to reach them. The number that they'd like you to call is 1-800-453-2530. That will get you to their railroad police department, who actually tracks those calls and the problems. Now, we did check in with the Greenville Sheriff's Office, local fire departments, and even nearby Wade Hampton High School. They all tell us while those blocked tracks can be frustrating, they have learned to work around it, and it hasn't stopped anyone from responding to an emergency or getting kids home from school.